Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. We begin with the escalating situation between Israel and Iran after days of missile strikes between the two. And it has those with loved ones abroad worried for their safety. Pratush Thayel reports.
Like, you just don't know where would be another explosion, when would that be?
As Israel and Iran continue to exchange airstrikes, many here anxious about the loved ones in Iran. Israel claims to have killed a top Iranian general as it waged more airstrikes with its longtime foe. Israel is continuing its air campaign on Tehran after its surprise attack on Iran's military and nuclear program Friday. Israel says its sweeping assault is necessary to prevent its adversary from getting any closer to building an atomic weapon. And as huge explosions continue in the Iranian capital, tremors are being felt here. This Iranian international student is worried about a mother's safety in Tehran.
She's scared. She has a visitor visa to Canada, so we are just me and my sister trying to get her out somehow.
Looking at the memorial benches honoring local victims of the Tehran plane crash from 5 years ago, Akwan says Iran has been through a lot and her friends are in the thick of the new conflict.
Their house like glasses get cracked and come down due to the explosions. So it's like war. The feeling they have, it's like we are in the middle of the war.
Others worry about internet disruptions and a shortage of essentials.
They've been asked to evacuate Tehran, but there is no gas. There is gas shortage. 20 million people are living in Tehran, and so all the roads they stuck in the roads, and it's scary.
Some say it's a pivotal moment for Iranian regime.
Iran has still some fight left in it, but there's no question that the Iranian leadership is under great stress. They did not expect Israel to be this successful this quickly. I think even the Israelis have exceeded what they had hoped to achieve by day 5 of this war, and it doesn't look good.
The strikes have killed more than 200 people in Iran, and Iran has also retaliated by launching some 400 missiles and hundreds of drones at Israel. So far, more than 20 people have been killed in Israel. And while global leaders are urging for ceasefire and de-escalation, so far there is no end in sight. Pratush Thayel, CBC News, Windsor.
An inmate has died while in custody at Windsor Southwest Detention Center. The death occurred on Monday. That is according to a spokesperson for the Ontario Ministry of the Solicitor General. Neither the ministry nor Windsor Police would provide further details, but both say investigations are underway. In other local news, if you live near the lakes, you already know that it is that time of year again. Fish flies are back, swarming evening skies, obsessed with bright lights. But as CBC's Jacob Barker has learned, one business is trying something new to keep the annoying bugs at bay.
The Grove Motel here in Colchester is a warm and welcoming place in the daytime, but at night right now it looks a little spookier. And that's because it's trying to keep away the fish flies.
We just got it installed last week, so we're very hopeful that it's gonna at least cut down on the number of fish flies that we have joining us.
In the daytime, you can see just some of what the motel has been up against.
It gets challenging, but usually by mid-afternoon, most of them are cleaned up.
Also known as mayflies, these insects are making their predictable appearance this year later than other years.
It's largely because we've had a fairly cool spring. So mayflies tend to emerge when the water temperatures hit about 19 degrees Celsius. That's 19 degrees Celsius at the sediments, not in the surface waters.
The red lights put up at the Grove was done as a bit of fun after its owner found out it was being done elsewhere.
We just kind of ran with the idea. We felt anything was worth trying. And when you come at night, it's actually shockingly amazing, kind of the vibe that it gives, and it's just in part with what we do here. So it's fun, but fingers crossed it's going to work for us.
And while it's still early in the season, the lights do seem to be helping.
And there's a significant difference. So I definitely think it's doing something. Whether or not it's going to, keep us away from all of the fish flies, probably not, but any reduction is a win for us.
Flynn says she's been getting questions from neighbors about whether it's working, And that has her seeing it as a potential draw to the community.
Make it a destination just to see, you know, the red light district of Colchester and Kingsville. I think it would be a really fun kind of take on what we're dealing with.
And the idea is not unwarranted.
Light
Science
regime
does back
make a
the red
difference.
light method.
So mayflies tend to be more receptive towards blue lights and ultraviolet lights. So where you get into longer wavelengths in the red spectrum and the amber and yellow spectrum, they're less attracted to that.
And while the Grove must keep the lights on for safety and security, the best way Droulard says to keep the bugs away from your property is to keep your lights off altogether. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Colchester.
And the arrival of the fish flies, Colette, is kind of a weather event in and of itself. So it's the perfect time to bring you in.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got another weather event coming, you know, the official start of summer as we get towards the end of this week. But it seems like some of that warmth has made its way in a bit early. So our temperatures close to 30 degrees for that high today. And you can see some of that heat just back to the west of us, including Chicago at 33. So we've got some warmth. We've certainly got a bit of humidity in here as well, and we'll have some dips over the next few days, but some real heat coming towards the weekend and the beginning of next week as well. Most of the activity staying to the south of us. Overnight tonight, 20 degrees. Tomorrow, that won't necessarily be the case. I think we will get some wet weather coming through, and I'll give you the details coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette. Workers at a riverfront hotel will remain on strike. Best Western employees rejected an offer from the company in a final offer vote that ran over the last 2 days. Workers are represented by Unifor Local 195. The union said today they rejected the offer by 90%. The almost 40 employees work in housekeeping, guest services, and maintenance, and they have been on strike since early June. The CEO of the company that manages the hotel said the results of the final offer vote were unfortunate. Tensions on the riverfront picket line have been high at times. Earlier this month, the company accused workers of assaulting a replacement worker. And on a different note, there is a new video game on the market, born right here in Windsor, Essex. CBC's Dalton Chen guides us into this new virtual reality.
You are the Runeborn, a hero entrusted with a book of powerful magic runes who must arrange them to ward off hordes of monsters unleashed by the evil Malakar. Can you use your runes and power-up trinkets to save the world? Or at least make this PC video game a success in the crowded gaming market? Runeborn is the latest release by iDream Interactive, an independent game studio based in Windsor, Essex. Company CEO Jacob Dehaime is hoping for a hit.
You have to design a game that's, first of all, has to be really fun and engaging. Like with Runeborn, we found it's a bit of a niche, but we have players that have played well over 600 hours just on the free demo.
Runeborn may have a dark fantasy setting, but its mechanics are similar to slot machine games. That's where iDream Interactive has had success with previous releases. Adam Castle of WeTech Alliance is a believer in Runeborn.
It's colorful, it's vibrant, it's really deep in terms of mechanics, and so there's a lot to love here. And it's also coming out at a price point that's really affordable, which is great.
But software industry researcher Jennifer Whitson warns that it won't be easy for an indie boutique release to make a name for itself in a saturated market. Last year, the game-selling platform Steam had more than 18,000 new releases, an all-time high.
It is extremely tough to find visibility and success. And a lot of it just is due to serendipity in being in the right place at the right time.
Still, Dehaime is betting for success. In 2024, a similar style of game called Balatro, created by an indie developer, had more than 5 million downloads less than a year after its release.
It really does matter that the game obviously is good and fun, but people also are sharing it and they're playing it. Yeah, so it's a tricky market, but if you have a good game, it'll work.
Runeborn's official release on Steam is set for July 15th. Dalton Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
In national news, First Nations groups held a protest rally on Parliament Hill against the federal government's One Canadian Economy Act. They accuse Ottawa of rushing the legislation without meaningful Indigenous consultation. The bill would grant sweeping powers to fast-track major infrastructure projects and has drawn sharp criticism from Indigenous leaders. CBC's David Thurton reports.
Ottawa's major projects bill facing some pushback.
A lot of things that are troubling, that should trouble all of us.
It's an excuse for them to power grab and create more political power for both levels of government.
Ontario's First Nations gathered on Parliament Hill as the government rushes through legislation.
It's very emotional for me as an environmentalist to know that this damage is going to be left to our children.
As Donald Trump's trade war threatens the Canadian economy, the Liberal government says the bill is about getting mines, ports, and pipelines built fast, especially those snarled in overlapping regulatory and permitting processes.
For too long, when federal agencies have examined a new project, their immediate question has been why. With this bill, we will instead ask ourselves how.
But some Liberals are uncomfortable with the bill.
I support a lot of what's in the Building Canada Act as well. There are two major problems, and if those problems aren't resolved, then I'm not going to support it at third reading.
The bill allows the government to approve a project up front, along with exempting any project from any federal law, a sweeping power that will be in effect for 5 years. The NDP and the Bloc oppose the bill as it stands.
Will the Liberals take the time to answer questions on C5 instead of forcing it down Parliament's throat?
The government says consultation with Indigenous people is woven throughout the bill.
Let me be absolutely clear. Major projects will only proceed under this Act with meaningful consultation and accommodation with Indigenous peoples.
The bill has broad support from industry, and Conservatives are signaling they'll back it too, which likely ensures its passage to the House by the end of the week. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Thousands of Canadian women miscarry every year. A doctors group has issued new healthcare guidelines for those experiencing early pregnancy loss. As Alison Northcott explains, the emotional and psychological toll is often overlooked.
This Toronto hospital has a specialized clinic for early pregnancy, an alternative to the emergency room to support patients through complications like miscarriages.
We provide nursing care, physician care, ultrasound, lab care all in one place, so we can help patients figure out what exactly is going on in their early pregnancy complication.
A new clinical practice guideline by the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada says early pregnancy loss is common and often overlooked as a treatment priority. It calls on clinicians to screen patients for depression after pregnancy loss and for more early pregnancy assessment clinics like the one in Toronto.
We are not talking about, building new facilities. We're talking about leveraging the existence of what we have right now. Having a room just dedicated for these women.
The guideline says early pregnancy loss occurs in about 15% of pregnancies. The mental health impacts can include depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Women can have prolonged mental health issues from this, and research will show that if it's dealt with effectively with compassionate care and the proper follow-up, we lessen that risk.
Another recommendation is to ensure medications that help manage pregnancy loss are free and available across Canada.
What essentially we want is, regardless of where you're receiving your care in Canada, it will be consistent, it will be based on recommendations, and it will be the best care that can be delivered.
It was just devastating because it was my first pregnancy, and my husband and I, we were so excited to finally welcome our first child.
Bethany Murray had 2 pregnancy losses within a year.
Mental health support should be more of a thing when it comes to early pregnancy loss.
She hopes the guidelines lead to more compassion for patients like her within the healthcare system. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
The 34-year-old mother of a missing toddler has made a court appearance in Quebec. Rachel Todd has been charged with child abandonment, with the investigation ongoing.
For now, we don't know what happened to Madame, the little girl. For now, we have the police officer still investigating, so we want to make sure that nothing more tragic is going on.
Police are continuing a massive search for 3-year-old Claire Bell. Authorities say she was last seen Sunday morning in Montreal and was reported missing by her mother later that day in a community 50 kilometers west of the city. We'll be right back with more news after the break. Welcome back. After departing early from the G7 summit in Canada, Donald Trump met with advisors at the White House about the escalating crisis between Iran and Israel. The U.S. president said he wants to see a real end to the conflict and an end to Tehran's nuclear program. This, as speculation grows, he may be leaning towards more direct involvement. Sasha Petrusik has the latest.
Even on the flight out of Canada on Air Force One, Trump was insistent.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
He says he's looking for something more than a ceasefire in the war between Iran and Israel. He wants Iran's nuclear program stopped, maybe destroyed. As the two Mideast countries trade airstrikes in a 4-day war that shows no sign of slowing or achieving Israel's goal of preventing Tehran from building a nuclear bomb, the U.S. has been making moves of its own. It's brought in more ships and planes, and Trump's social media posts point to even more direct U.S. involvement. He boasted that it's American-made weapons used by Israel that have cleared Iran's defense systems. He threatened to kill Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not now, but maybe. And he posted a demand for unconditional surrender from Tehran, all in the space of 1 hour this morning. Israel has long pushed for the U.S. to join this war. It especially needs America's biggest bunker-busting bomb to destroy Iran's most important underground nuclear plant. The huge bomb can only be dropped by American pilots using the U.S. B-52 bomber. Iran has reportedly suggested it's ready to negotiate now, and Trump's not closing the door on talking, says a State Department spokeswoman.
Negotiations looking for diplomatic solutions to generational problems that he wants solved diplomatically.
But discussions with Trump's national security team in the White House Situation Room today suggest other options are on the table. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Washington.
Canada has promised $4.3 billion in new support for embattled Ukraine. Prime Minister Mark Carney made the announcement at the G7 summit on Tuesday. Ashley Burke has more on the final day of the meeting.
An extended family photo, but its main character missing. Donald Trump long gone from the summit ahead of other world leaders arriving for talks they hoped would be with him. Ukraine's president planned to push Trump for tougher sanctions on Russia.
We're ready for the peace negotiations. We are ready for the peace negotiations, unconditional ceasefire. I think it's very important, but for this we need pressure. And of course I want to speak with Prime Minister today about sanctions, additional sanctions.
Overnight, Moscow hit the capital with one of its worst attacks yet.
It's a big tragedy for us, and we need support from our allies.
With Trump stepping away from the summit, Carney's trying to step up.
We are providing additional military assistance, drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance directly to Ukraine.
Carney announcing more money, more sanctions, and a loan from frozen Russian assets. Moves to help Canada boost its defense spending too.
The fact that you decided to bring Canada to the 2% spending when it comes to NATO this year is really fantastic.
NATO's pushing for countries, including Canada, to spend even more as Trump applies pressure.
But what they do expect, of course, is for the allies outside the US to step up in terms of defense spending, to equalize with what the US is spending, and we have to do that.
Leaders will have a chance to meet again at the NATO summit next week, but Ukraine's president is leaving Canada without what he came for, a face-to-face meeting with Donald Trump and a joint statement from G7 leaders who couldn't agree on the final wording. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Banff, Alberta.
Ukrainian officials say a massive Russian airstrike on Kyiv has killed at least 16 people and wounded dozens more. It is the deadliest attack on the capital this year. Authorities say hundreds of Russian drones and dozens of missiles targeted the Ukrainian capital overnight. The main bombardment demolished a 9-story apartment building in the capital. Kyiv's mayor has declared Wednesday an official day of mourning, and the attack comes after 2 rounds of peace talks failed to make progress toward ending the war. We'll be right back with Colette. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, more heat on the way with some showers, so talk us through it.
Yeah, we've got a few things going on you'll want to be prepared for tomorrow. A bit of light stuff earlier in the day, but then could get a bit heavier for the second half. So normal high this time of year is 26, 29 for us today, pretty close on the overnight lows. It'll be milder tonight. And there are your current readings. We're still holding on there in the upper 20s, but you got to factor in that humidity, and it feels like mid to upper 30s. You know, by the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week, we could be seeing Humidex values or experiencing them into the mid 40s. So that's kind of down the road. This is just a bit of a preview here with summer starting at the end of the week. That southwesterly flow that's pulling in some of this heat. There has been some active weather, most of this staying stateside, and otherwise it's to the north, pushing across Lake Huron towards the Bruce Peninsula at this point. Not too much activity there. So the setup for tomorrow is a little bit different. We do have a slight chance into southwestern Ontario that we could see some of these storms on the stronger side. Rolling you through tonight. Nothing to worry about there. Tomorrow morning, just a few little things, very isolated, kind of bubbling up. Lunchtime, we could have a bit of a downpour moving through then. Still relatively light. It's as we get later into the day. So I've stopped this at 6 p.m. Let's go in for a closer look of the region. I've slowed it down here. They're not going to move this slowly through, but you can kind of see moving past Windsor Lakeshore 7 to 8, and then clearing Chatham-Kent around 9 to 10 o'clock as that moves through. Let's pull back out for you here, and then we'll let that leave and see what happens behind it. Is that most of the activity will stay to the north. A few lingering showers, certainly a bit of cloud cover on Thursday, but then we should get into some clearing as that day wears on Thursday. So tomorrow, your active weather, although you could have a few hits earlier in the day, it's more likely late afternoon and then into the early evening, and then things look quite a bit better after that Thursday once we do clear out, and we'll have a few days of sunshine, in fact, and dry conditions. So we could use this moisture as it comes through. Overnight temperatures, 19, 20, 21 for Windsor. See what I mean? A little milder than last night, 5 degrees warmer there. There you go, 29 tomorrow. Feeling like 38. Lingering showers early Thursday, then the clearing, 26. Friday, a nice day, mostly sunny, 29, not too humid. That really begins to change into the weekend. You'll notice the 30s on the board, the Humidex values in the 40s, heat dome setup coming. So a few days of that looks like.
It's summertime. Thank you so much, Colette. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.